So a couple weeks ago I put up on my Facebook page a request for people to ask me questions, to send in questions about anything from theology to psychology, to just any questions they wanted me to touch on this channel. And I got a lot of them back from women asking questions about love and holiness, so we're going to try to answer those today. This is the first Rise Up Jerusalem AMA. And if you didn't know, AMA is Ask Me Anything. So in the comments below this video, ask me questions, and if I get enough, we'll do another AMA. Maybe make this a series. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Alright, so the first question, while we're jumping right in really hard, what are ways you think women can practically imitate the Blessed Mother and her virtues? Ooh, solid question. Well, I think when we think about Mary in general, this isn't just for Catholic women, this is for all Catholics. The number one thing we think about Mary is she trusted God. Mary's fiat, I'm the handmaid of the Lord, may it be done to me according to your word. That's the one thing that sets Mary apart. And that's such a big deal for us as Catholics, this whole idea of, yes, I am going to be living a life where I trust God above all things. Now, to answer the question, specifically with Catholic women, I would say it's this, but to an even further extent. See, for Mary, she had this thing where God was like, yo, you gonna have my baby, and I know you ain't married yet, so you could get stoned. And imagine this position of St. Joseph, it would have been so much harder if Mary was just like, no, you have to stay with me, please. I can't let people not know that this baby is yours. Joseph probably would have been like, woman, you crazy. But instead, he was like, no, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna separate. We're just not gonna get married. And then the angel, of course, had to come to him and was like, yo, Joseph, it's all cool. Mary didn't cheat on you. It's God's baby. And Joseph was like, cool, fam, let's do that. So yeah, I say trusting in God with whatever problems you have. A lot of people just worry too much about what they're gonna do with their life, and especially women in particular. Who am I gonna marry? What are they gonna be like? What are our children's names gonna be? Etc. Etc. That trust in God, like Mary had, to be able to say, yeah, this is kind of weird. Life is uncertain. I don't know what's going to happen, but I trust you, God. I'm the handmaid of the Lord. I think that really should be every woman should get a bracelet or write that on their arm or something. I am the handmaid of the Lord. Because it's just such a great reminder to emulate the Blessed Virgin, because she had just this great life of just happiness because she trusted in God's will. In a similar line of questioning, if you want to date with any of the women in the Bible, who would you want it to be? I want to go on a date with Mom and ask her how the heck she could trust all that stuff. Think about this. We're going back to the same thing. Mary, good gravy. How do you trust God so greatly? Oh, I would love to pick her brain and know, what is she thinking in that moment? What was she thinking when she lost Jesus? That was probably an awkward moment. When she lost him and then they found him in the temple, she was like, boy, what you been doing? He'd be like, Mama, I was supposed to be here. I was at my father's house, all that stuff. I don't know. I feel like Mary's kind of a cop-out answer, though. Who else would I want to go on a date with in the Bible? Okay, this is gonna be a really selfish, stupid answer, but this is what I would do. I would want to go on a date with Esther. They say she is the prettiest in the land, and so, yeah, let's go on a date with the most attractive person in the Bible. I mean, if this is a hypothetical question. Yeah, I guess I could ask her the same question about trust. I would ask Mary, how do you keep trusting God when your husband, who is coincidentally also the king, is trying to kill your entire people? That would be a good question to ask her. But yeah, Mary and then Esther. Oh man, here's the question to end all questions. What is your definition of modesty? Alright, so as a Catholic guy, here's what I'm thinking about modesty. And I've been wanting to do a video about modesty for ages, and I probably will eventually. But I haven't, because really, it comes to the essence of the answer. Modesty is a hard topic. People can talk about modesty all day long, but it's one of those weird things where you can't really talk about it well at all. For example, I was listening to the radio, Christian radio station the other day, and they're like, come have a purity, beauty, fashion pageant. And at this purity, beauty, fashion pageant, we're going to talk to the women about what it means to be truly beautiful and what it means to dress properly. See, but that's the thing, is so many times when you talk about modesty, it's all about the dress code, basically. Modesty is turned into a dress code, and this irritates me. Because modesty isn't a set of lengths, and how long should your dress be, and how long should a skirt be. Because, every woman is different. The standard answer to most things of, is this skirt/dress long enough? It's well, does it go past your fingertips? I knew this one girl a while back who was really lanky, and so, she had long legs. And so when she would wear a skirt that went past her fingertips, it was still showing a lot. And like, modesty isn't so much a question about how long is it or what does it not show. It's a question about, am I showing myself off as a creature who I am? Because like, modesty, if you're thinking about it from the line of like, is it long enough? Is it too long? Am I showing, other people off? Am I leading to sin? There's a million responses to that. Like, I've heard a lot of people say, well, if I'm showing something, it's my prerogative, guys just shouldn't be looking. And that's not a way to think about it. And if you're thinking about it all in terms of hemline, then that's how it's going to be. Now, a better idea of modesty is looking at yourself in a proper way and showing yourself off in a beautiful way. And I'm sure some people are like, well, I'm proud of my body, I'm gonna show it all off. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying try to show by the way you dress who you truly are, because you are not the way you dress, you're not the way you look, you are who you are as God created you. And sure, yes, God created who you are, like he formed you in his mother womb, he knows what your body looks like. But that's not the point. The point is, are you showing yourself off as a holy person? Here's the deal. If you are dressing and getting dressed, you should be saying, hey, am I showing myself off in a way that when people look at me, they will say, there goes the saint. But really, it's not a question of how do you dress for a dance or a church, it's how you dress in your everyday life. I have an opinion, and it's just an opinion, and you can slam me all you want for it. I believe that if women wear yoga pants, that is their prerogative, and there's nothing sinful or wrong about that. Because the intention behind wearing them is not to show off their curves, their intention behind them is to be comfortable. Most of the really good Catholic women I know, including many here on campus, who wear like those skin-tight pants, it's because they're comfortable. And maybe they'll wear a long shirt so that it covers, a little bit more, go beneath their torso, but like, they're not doing it to show off their body, and they're not doing it to lead anyone into sin. They're doing it because it's comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with comfort. You can say all day long, well, Pope Benedict said, you're not made for comfort, you're made for greatness. But honestly, there's nothing sinful about wearing yoga pants. I just said that in front of a camera. All right, back to questions. When you hear the phrase Catholic woman, what is the first thing that comes to mind? A woman who is striving to grow in virtue. Sometimes you can't exactly tell, sometimes you never see them in the chapel, sometimes you don't know if they're praying a rosary. But honestly, you can tell. A lot of guys that I know, there's something that, like good, holy, virtuous guys, there's something that connects us. We don't know what it is, but there's something that when you look at any of us, it's like we're all different, really, really different. But we have something in common, and that common thing is that we are trying every day to grow closer to Christ. So when I hear Catholic woman, like a truly Catholic woman, it's a woman who's trying every day to grow closer to Christ, both spiritually, emotionally, like she's living her life thinking, will I do everything that's bringing me closer to Christ? But also at the same time, it's a woman who's loosened up, like a woman who's in the world but not of the world. That would actually be my answer, is a Catholic woman is a woman who's in the world but not of the world. A woman who enjoys listening, to rap and hip hop and all that, but also is in the chapel. And it's not hypocrisy because they understand what is and what isn't sin, and they're living their life out of sin. And of course, that's going to be different based on intention, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But yeah, Catholic woman, a woman who's in the world but not of the world, and trying every single day to grow closer to Christ. All right, how can we know what is too far with a significant other besides sex? That is a good question. So what is too far? I'm sure you've heard this before, like, well, that's not the right question to be asking. How far is too far? Like, it's like if you're saying, well, how far can I drive a truck towards the cliff before it falls off the cliff? Like, that's the wrong question to ask. And same way with, modesty and purity and all of that. Okay, so, but there actually is an actual answer with this. So last semester I went on this freshman retreat, and it was really cool because the priest started doing this talk about the Ten Commandments. And when he was talking about the Ten Commandments, one of the things he started talking about was arousal, and like, what is, what can you do that's pleasurable without like going into sin? And it's really kind of what this question is asking, like, what is too far with the significant other besides sex? Yeah, sex, if you're not married, is a sin. Spoiler alert, I'm sure that surprises you immensely. So the analogy this priest gave, that's a great answer to this, is don't turn on the car if you don't want to drive it. Great analogy. Think about this in terms of like arousal. I'm sure it is great to have fun with your significant other, to cuddle, to kiss, all that stuff. But if it starts to lead towards a place where you are only having like desires that will lead you into sex, you need to stop. And I'm sure that's hard because it's like, well, I'm just expressing my love for this other person. Why is that necessarily bad? And it's not bad. What's bad is arousing yourself to such a degree that the only place you can go is sex. It's leading your body on to where it desires that. That's when it starts to get far. So, and that's going to depend person by person. I know I've been saying it depends a lot in this video, but it really does depend a lot on a lot of factors. So how far is too far? For some people, that could be just starting to make out. For some people, that could be cuddling. For some people, that could be holding hands, I guess. They're weird, different people in the world. But if it starts to get to a point where that's what you desire, and it is in your occasion of sin, like you think that if you didn't have strong willpower or if circumstances were slightly different, it could lead to sex, then that's too far. Don't bring yourself purposefully into a near occasion of sin. It's that simple. And the last question is a good question to end on. What is the most confusing emotion a woman expresses? Oh, good gravy. This is hard. You women express a lot of emotions. I would say the number one emotion that's the most confusing is, how do you feel? Because sometimes you'll be like, hey, you want to go do something? And it's like, do you like me, or are we just friends, or what's going on? And honestly, guys really shouldn't worry about that. If we like you, we'll ask you out, and hopefully you like us too, and we'll say yes. But it's that question of like, for guys, like, oh, does she like me, does she not like me? Like, guys will have this, like, a powwow sometimes, where we get together and it's just like, bro, like, I don't know what's going on, like, here's what's happening. And the guy's like, bro, here's what's going on, here's what you gotta do. Do you like her? Yes. Okay, then do this. Do you like her? No. Okay, then don't do this, do this. And that's probably the most confusing, is like, you can never really tell as a guy if a woman likes you or if she just wants to hang out and be friends. That's hard, especially because like us guys, we don't read into a lot of things, so it's very confusing when it's just like all of a sudden we think, oh snap, what's going on? Or somebody brings it up to us and we're just like, great, cool, fantastic, I'm scared now. So yeah, that wraps up our first AMA. If you have any other questions about anything at all, literally anything, it doesn't just have to be about love, that was, I guess, the topic of this one, but anything at all that you have questions that you want to ask me about, please leave it down in the comments below, shoot me an email, smack me a message on Facebook. If you aren't liking my page on Facebook, then, well, what are you waiting for? Instagram, friend me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, all that stuff. Just DM me, tweet me, do whatever. I really enjoyed this. It was like answering your questions, and hopefully we can continue to do this in the future. And I'm sorry about the lighting going crazy, but, well, I don't know. It's weird. Welcome to nature, where sunlight goes out. But it's such a beautiful day, guys. Have a great Easter season. I hope you are staying holy. And remember, as it was in the beginning, is now and ever shall be, rise up and live.